Order.
Oh, we need it.
The question is that the notice of motion is moved by the member for Balmain be agreed to. I call the member for Balmain in reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker. I'd also like to thank the members for Strathfield, Kira, Londonderry and Hawkesbury for their contributions. The contribution that I've made to the House today as a member of the Greens is one that recognises that both sides need to take responsibility, both Labor and Liberal. It's not a personal issue, it's not an issue about individual members' performance, but it's about looking at the performance of the former government and this government. No one can challenge the fact that the former government had a disgraceful record when it came to light rail, the metro, those other issues in my community. And it's important to note the only reason why the light rail is being extended from Leichhardt to Dulwich Hill is because of the huge amount of community pressure. A huge amount of community pressure, where we heard the quote from the member for Strathfield talking about the former Transport Minister, Mr Watkins, who in 2008 absolutely ruled out extending the light rail. Labor eventually buckled. They eventually buckled because of the pressure and the logic put forward by the community and transport planners. In the same way that the metro in my electorate in Rozelle, $500 million wasted on a project that everybody in the transport sector knew was a complete waste of money. A complete waste of money, and again the government buckled under pressure from the community. And the government is now rightly investing in the North West Rail Link. My community said, don't spend $8 billion in Rozelle, spend it in the North West, where it can be better used. And so the important issue for this House is to recognise that this government now has an opportunity. When they came to power, the first thing they announced was light rail would be delayed for 2 years and the Greenway wouldn't be built. That is not a good start. But there are good elements that this government has made, and my motion, which was moved some time ago, acknowledges the fact that many of the things that we called for in my community, integration of my ticketing, integration of concession, has been achieved by this government. So this government has made some progress, but more needs to be done. We've had the member for Strathfield today on behalf of the government confirm that 2014, first quarter, is now the start date for the light rail extension. 2 years later than anticipated, which of course is disappointing. And my job is to make sure that this government sticks to that commitment, to make sure there is no further blowouts, and I'll make sure that I work with the Minister for Transport, Minister Berejiklian, to make sure that absolutely happens. The government today has remained silent on the question of the Greenway. I, of course, as you know, Mr Deputy Speaker, am a strong advocate of integrating pedestrian, cycleway, light rail, buses, heavy rail. And the Greenway is an important part of that project. As I mentioned, the 22 local schools who were involved in that program to use that light rail corridor to allow their students to walk to school because, of course, of the congestion in the West. And it's not just about the Inner West, Mr Deputy Speaker. The Inner West is a gateway to the CBD. Taking vehicles off the Inner West network gives more opportunity for businesses and for those people that must use the roads to be able to access the CBD. So it's a benefit to all of the electorates in Sydney. Can I say in conclusion, Mr Temporary Speaker, that it's important that this government recognises the important aspect that light rail can deliver, and the extensions are the critical element here. The extension to the CBD, the extension to the University of New South Wales, extension to the University of Sydney. If we can have a system, the light rail system, extended to these areas, it's very, very important. We understand the government's undertaking a feasibility study on this issue. I look forward to seeing the conclusion of that feasibility study. It's important, Mr Deputy Speaker, that we recognise the advances this government has made, but we're also vigilant. And all the members here also need to take note that while the government can make commitments, we've seen with the former government that sometimes those commitments don't come to fruition. So I wanted to take the opportunity, Mr Deputy Speaker, to thank all of those members that have made a contribution, to recognise their interest in these transport issues, and to commit myself again, to commit myself and the people of my electorate to make sure that we will ensure that the light rail is built and extended. We'll continue to campaign to make sure that integration happens, and in particular that school students can use the light rail as the best form of transport to and from school. Thank you.
The question is that the notice of motion is moved by the member for Balmain be agreed to. All of that opinion say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Before I ask